Hello everyone, Edain here, and welcome back to the Edain Mod, where today we are doing a ranking video. It's been a little while since I've done a ranking video, and we're actually going to be going over a few of the old ranking videos I did way back when. I can't exactly remember how long it's been, but yeah, a lot has changed, especially with outposts. A lot of them have been updated to be made better. Some of them have been updated and are worse when comparing them with other outposts they already have. And then there's some that haven't changed at all. And honestly, the bottom rung for this ranking video, I have prepared a few suggestions for what can be done to make those outposts better. I'm not saying they're going to happen, but I would like to see them happen in some way or form to give the faction and the outpost the love it deserves. And before we actually go in, I have to just say, all of this is my own opinion. Some of it could be correct to your own opinion as well. Some of it you might disagree with. That's totally fine. It's going to happen. Let's begin. Starting off at number 19 with the Imladris Fortress. It was the bottom of the last ranking tier. Is the same now. Why is it so bad? Because you can only get one hero from it, Glorfindel, and a total of 3 units, the Glorfindel Wind Riders. And the upgrades you get for the outpost, the best thing you can get is the cost reduction for upgrades, which I checked, they do stack with the blacksmith upgrade cost discounts, but these other things here, the Blessed Mist, Crystal Moat, and the Mystical Fountains, they're just pretty much copy-pasted off the fortress for the elves back in Bithme 2 Vanilla. And there's not enough flavour or actual use out of this outpost. Because, one, you don't need these Glorfindel Riders. They look beautiful. They're such a beautiful looking unit. But they, in terms of gameplay, are garbage. Their attacks are more centered around focusing, like constantly fighting, not charging, which is what cavalry are known for doing. And Glorfindel doesn't really offer much to the faction that they don't already have. They already have decent cavalry heroes. They don't need AoE damage and things like that because they've got things like Gandalf that can do pretty big damage. It's just Glorfindel being Glorfindel, which is not a bad thing. But again, he's just there, and you don't need any of this for Arnor. But how I would improve this is actually quite interesting, because it doesn't require adding more new things. It just requires adding more things from Imladris to this fortress. For example, the Wandering Company. Add in the Wandering Company as another form of healing for a faction that already has a lot of healing. Might not seem like a good idea, unless you consider the fact it's a initial form of healing that can be used in combat. Very cheap, very cheerful. You can even make this fortress not look so imposing and make it more like a camp setting, similar to the Dunedain Outpost for Imladris. Have it be a bit more rustic to fit in, like, again, the Wandering Company. But also just have any like single Imladris troop. Just a single one. Doesn't have to be anything particularly big, just one of them. Just one Imladris troop, like a Blade Master. So, Wandering Company, Blade Master, and then Glorfindel Wind Riders with Glorfindel himself. That alone will make this outpost so much better. And honestly, far more appealing than a ordinary outpost that just gets you free plots. Because at the moment, those free plots could be used for economy, which Arnor does need to support their elite late game style. Where all this offers is 10 resources per second, per few seconds, and a discount to upgrade, which you can already get a good amount of. So all in all, the worst outpost in my opinion, and the best way to improve it is just add more units to it. We have the Lorien Outpost, the generic Lothlorien style outpost, which can give you all of the different buildings you can buy for your camps or castles. But it just adds them all into this one building and doesn't have any other real appeal to it, because all it gives is more health and armor against things in melee, offers a concealing fog and your minstrels, your Carascalathon Guardians and Galafrim, also faster recruit speed and some defenses, and then your upgrades. But with Lothlorien, with their unique camp style being, you have less build plots, but every single building is a resource building, generates high resources, levels up through the set workers' tools, and has defenses of their own, and they have massive discounts on all buildings for just choosing a certain type. So, for example, going several border guard houses to get a higher discount on regular infantry on top of faster recruit speed. You can then get Galafrim reduced costs, upgrades reduced costs, and this offers no discounts whatsoever. So what is the point of building this outpost? Honestly, I see none. Considering you have one of the your other outpost is one of the best outposts in my opinion. Having a basic Lorien outpost proves to be useless, in my opinion. It's only better than the enlarged outpost because of the fact it has all of this variance to it. The fact it can do all of this is what is saving it from the bottom of the barrel. Because, let's face it, if all you're doing is doing what your main building can do, I don't see why I should get you. Other than just to fill out the roster. But to be fair, you're playing Lothlorien. You can get Mirkwood and it will fill out your roster 10 times easier. So how would I improve this? Honestly, I'd scrap the whole Lorien outpost entirely and change it into another elf subclass, the Avari, from... apologies for the Edain team because they might not like this idea because it's technically not canon, but the elves that live in Dorwinion, the Avari, the Shadow Elves, have them in as this extra outpost. Because the way this outpost is built as if it was the special outpost. You can add it in. Like a simple tent is a healing area because it sells wine. Can go towards your melon trees to improve, I don't know, their armor against things because you're blessing them with the grapes. I can also get one special unit like the Avari Shadows, which is just a high stealth unit that focuses in melee to help supplement your other melee infantry and may have a buff that says you can use the border ambush ability more easily. There's something small like that. It's a obviously it would break the lore in a way because Dorwinion doesn't really have any lore outside of being a landmass that's main import is wine. Just make that the thing for this outpost. Have it an economy outpost, like with Isengard Steelworks. But instead of having all focus on your military upgrades, just have economy. Just have economy and some support tools from having grapes. Don't even have to use the Avari Shadows. That's just my personal advice, is to add Avari Shadows. That'd be cool. But yeah, this Citadel, I've never really liked it. I've seen no reason to build it because it's a single building, can be easily destroyed. Compared to your other outposts, which I'll be talking about much, much later. At number 17, we have the Ered Mithrin Bastion. One outpost that I thought was really cool and really interesting back when it was first introduced. Back when a lot of other outposts had this format of having 1, 2, 3, 4 upgrades, having a certain number of units attached to it, and maybe a hero. But over time, I've just slowly fallen more and more out of love with this outpost. Even after they gave it this beautiful new look, and the design on these things are beautiful, and they have the mighty catapult. It's a really lovely design. It just lacks in a few departments compared to the other dwarf outposts, which again we'll be talking about much, much later. They focus purely on a more economy and a pseudo basic infantry route, where these dwarves focus more on a pseudo elite format with a single entity, and being good against monsters and having bonus defenses for your summons and then your mighty catapult. Some of these things were recently added in, like the border warden extra defenses for actually getting that upgrade, which I do appreciate. It did give a lot of love to this building, but sadly, over everything that's changed with the outposts, I'm surprised this didn't get some more love. Because it still feels like the units themselves are the falling point. Yes, they're fast-moving units in a faction that has, well, a sub-faction that has slower-moving units. And they have the emphasis on being monster hunters. For example, our spear throwers here that can throw things down, and then the Eremith Dragon Slayers, which can swap between a AoE attack and a single target damage attack that was good against monsters. The problem is, though, how many factions actually have monsters in this game? We have Mordor with trolls. We have and werewolves. We have Angmar with werewolves, which I've never seen anyone play Angmar and use werewolves, other than to have some fun. And then there's also technically the Snow Trolls, but I'm not including them because they're a Ring Hero, Witch King only inclusion. And then we have the Misty Mountains with their with the Trolls, Mountain Giants, etc., etc. And then we have potentially Lothlorien with Ents, if Ents are classified as monsters, which I would not be surprised if they are. So that is 4 factions with very limited number of monsters. And this Outpost whole thing is about dealing with monsters. Why not also make it cavalry? Why not also give them a strength against cavalry? Because the dwarves need it. They need a thing that's good against cavalry in general. These hunters can kill cavalry on revenge damage, but they also lose their own lives. Give them more protection against cavalry. Give these guys bonus speed and are immune to knockback, so they can't get killed by cavalry. And then the Monster Slayers, they're fine on their own. They're fine. I'm going to be doing a few shorts on them soon, having these guys go against a bunch of different things. That's going to be cool to see. But yeah, I feel like the fact it's only limited to monsters makes it that it's just too limited. There's not enough monsters in the game. There's not enough factions that use monsters in the game. That this is on its own enough. If they include cavalry in that lineup, this could easily become a lot stronger, just by having that extra bonus against cavalry or trample, because that could make them fun again and make it worth building this over an ordinary dwarf outpost. At number 16, we have the Dol Guldur Outpost Fortress. Now, if this outpost wasn't in direct competition with another really good outpost, it would be a lot higher up on the list. But the fact it has to compete with a basic outpost and the Minas Morgul outpost, which generates much better orcs, in my opinion, and a stronger hero, in my opinion, that is the only reason why this outpost is so low on the list. Also because they removed, until they get to level 3, they removed the poison AoE, so this outpost can very easily just get targeted down and destroyed. Ignoring the fact you get Castellans of Dol Guldur, this unit is really cool. AoE damage, high damage, you can go even higher on damage if you build them up correctly. It's the fact that poison is so inconsequential. Because it doesn't stack. You get the 1 stack of poison, and then if you get hit again, you'll just have that 1 stack of poison reapplied with a full cooldown. It doesn't add a new stack. It doesn't add a certain damage threshold. It just stops at the single poison tick every second. And that will just constantly be reapplied whenever that happens. So you've got these orcs that have the exact same stats as your basic orcs. You've got to spend 1,500, which I do appreciate. The cost of these buildings has been reduced by 1,000 each. But again, the one also Influence of Sauron upgrade makes it so you can get these spiders for free. Which, considering you can already get orcs for free, if that wasn't the case, those spiders would be a lot more appealing. But again, there's already better things you can get from the outpost than the special thing that's meant to be a bonus versus cavalry. So again, the fact that these orcs are just weaker than Minas Morgul orcs, in my opinion. The fact that they can get the these orcs from a basic barracks is cool and all. But again, I would still go the Morannon orcs. They are just better. They are overall just better. But then you compare them to Minas Morgul orcs. These orcs are better than Morannon orcs. That is also my opinion. I don't go Dol Guldur for these orcs. I go Dol Guldur purely for Khamûl. That is the only reason I would ever make this outpost. And even then, I don't want to build him because of how loud he is in his voice lines. My God, he is too loud. At number 15, we have the Dunedain encampment, which, similarly to the Edain Mithrin Bastion, kind of falls into the point of the main outpost itself doesn't do much. It doesn't have much in the ways of actually performing in a relatively good way. But what it does have are units that are actually worth getting in the early game to transition out of into the late game, because your basic units are so expensive for Imladris. Whereas with your Dunedain, you can be made cheaper if you get the Hobbit farms, which you can get on every settlement, which also comes with defences, which is really cool. You can also reduce the cost of your upgrades through the storage tent, which is a brand new thing. It also gives more resources. So again, that's already one big up on some of the other outposts we've had in the past. This actually helps generate more resources just from one upgrade. You can then increase the recruitment speed, similar to the Border Wardens, and it allows you to get Halbarad, who is the way of getting your upgrades for your Dunedain. That's right, you don't even need to get your upgrades through the base of Imladris. You just need Halbarad to level up to certain levels. Level 3 you can get Banner Carriers, level 5 Forged Blades, level 7 Fire Arrows. And then later, oh no, level 5 Forged Blades and Fire Arrows, and then at level 7 they gain fear resistance and damage near Halbarad. But also the Dunedain's abilities put them on a pseudo-elite level, similar again to the dwarves from Edain Mithrin, but also again much cheaper, with the pikemen being able to do more damage to cavalry on monsters when trampled and reduce their speed. Extra movement speed for the Dunedain, which you might notice is less speed, but notice how it says the knockback resistance right there. Just add that to the dwarves at Edain Mithrin, they're already better. But the reason why there's less of a speed percentage on these guys compared to the Edain Mithrin Guardians is because of the fact they have less speed inherently. The Dunedain are inherently faster. And then lastly, we have the Dunedain Archers with Unexpected Salvo, putting them on Ithilien Ranger levels, and all they cost is 300 at base. From a 400 resource outpost is insane. But the only reason why it's so low is the fact that I personally never make this outpost. Because, well, I do... Sorry, no, tell a lie. I do make it purely for the extra resources. But then I just realised, wait, I'm spending all of these extra resources to build a single entity building that has a limited amount of health compared to a outpost that can have 4 buildings and won't get instantly destroyed by siege when I'm not paying attention. And I don't need to get these Dunedain when I play as them largest anyway. So yeah, that's why you never see me make this outpost. Some people do enjoy it. They are good. But we're at the point now where this outpost doesn't need to be made better. If it could be, that'd be nice. But we're now at the point where most outposts are good enough as they are. They don't need any... I can't think of any good improvements for them. But if they could be improved, they could be made better. But until we get to base outposts, assume all the outposts below the base outposts are just, in my opinion, not worth getting for one reason or another. At number 14, we have the border stronghold for Belfalas. Not Gondor, just Belfalas. And the main reason is, well, for one, the upgrades for the citadel itself, well, the border stronghold, are very basic. So, again, it's kind of the same problem as with many of the other outposts we've already talked about, is the fact there's just these 4 upgrades you can buy that offer different things, but honestly, these things you're paying for can very easily just get washed away by the fact that this building is a single entity building that can very easily be destroyed if not protected well enough, and doesn't get better from you making them. It's just you have them, and then that's it. But also the main thing is the fact that instead of having, like with Gondor, you have 2 units that offer very value choices. A infantry that buffs over infantry, and a cavalry that buffs over cavalry, and is also an amazing elite heroic cavalry. And also Imrahil, who buffs a lot of your faction with all your fiefdom troops. With Belfalas, you get Boromir, And if you get Boromir the Ring, you can then make the Guardians of the White City, which I'm not including this in the overall ranking because of people that personally don't play with the One Ring on. For reasons that I do understand, it can very easily swing the game in one person's favour or another. But Boromir, in his own, he doesn't really offer a large amount of value compared to Imrahil from the Border Stronghold of Gondor, which I'll be talking about later. But let's look at the Osgiliath veterans. What do they offer to the table? They are equally effective against infantry, cavalry, and monsters, which means they've basically got a mix of slash and specialist damage. As you can see here, some are wielding swords, some are wielding spears. Does that mean the spear wielders are good against monsters, and the swords are good against infantry, and not against each thing individually? I do not know. I've tried looking them up on the Edain wiki. They've not, well, fandom wiki. They're currently, their stats have not been revealed to me, and I don't want to have to go through code. So if anyone watching this knows the answer, do these entities do different damage types, or do they have both damage types in every single entity? But also they come out at level 5. That's their two naming factors. For a unit that costs 900, they better be worth it, because that's near heroic tier cost, and that's at base cost, 900. They can be reduced using townhouses instead of blacksmiths, which personally, if I was playing Belfalas, I would probably go townhouses over blacksmiths. But then I would need at least one blacksmith to get my upgrades, which then begs the question, why am I going townhouses if I can just go all blacksmiths and get discounts on basic troops? And then waste all my money on these elite troops. So yeah, you're constantly doing a battle of economy rolling with Gondor in general. Belfalas has an even bigger problem in that you've got to make the choice of whether townhouses are actually better than blacksmiths. Where, personally, I don't think they are. But if you don't get them, then what's the point in spending 900 on a unit that is only level 5 as its key feature, where you can get a unit of Tarnos Guard from your level 2 barracks that has the exact same abilities as the Dol Amroth soldiers you got from the Gondor Border Stronghold. It's just a fact that this outpost does not offer enough variance. But compare this to the Arnor Fortress, the enlarged fortress for Arnor, and I would still say this is better every single day of the week, because at least Boromir offers more value on his own by existing, giving heroes on the map speed, giving allies near him armor, actually summoning more troops. He is a far better hero from an outpost than Glorfindel. And this unit is better than the Glorfindel Windriders, which is why they're so much higher than the enlarged fortress. But personally, they're still, in my opinion, not better for Belfalas than a basic outpost. That is my opinion. And I'm going to sit with that opinion for the end of time until they either decrease the cost of the Osgiliath veterans or they add in one more thing to this outpost. I'm not sure what, because they've kind of already given Faramir with the Athenian Rangers here. They've got Aragorn with the Grey Company here. I do not know what they could add to this fortress to make it better. But if they could find something, I appreciate it. I would deeply appreciate making this fortress better, because it deserves to be made better. And at number 13, we have the basic outpost. And what I mean by basic outpost means every faction that has this exact same layout for their basic outpost costs 800 resources, has a citadel that does nothing other than being able to recruit heroes and get your pantry, and then has 3 build plots where you can build any building from your main base. These outposts are good. They've always been good. They always will be good. We're at the standard now. This is the standard for outposts. If you can be as good or better than a basic outpost, then great. You've done a great job. If you're worse than a basic outpost, is it worth getting you, considering an outpost could be free resource buildings with discounts or furthering discounts, could be a military hub for, say, for example, cavalry for siege equipment, so you don't have to run all the way back to your base, get those things, and then have them march across the entire map to reach your destination. You can have it as a halfway point. Obviously, this map is a bad example, but on some maps, there could be one player here, one player all the way over here, and an outpost like right here. So would you build slow units from an outpost closer to the enemy base or further away from the enemy base, and you have to waste more time? I think it's very obvious. You want them as close as possible to your enemy to do as much damage as possible, and that's what an outpost does. It makes it so you can have that extra versatility. It's the Swiss Army knife of outposts. Now, I'm not including every single faction's outpost because obviously I've already talked about Lothlorien's outpost being garbage. We're not including 3 other factions' outposts in this because they have different things about them that put them up higher than an ordinary outpost because they have different things going on for them. But yeah, if we look at the basic outpost, this is where I put them at number 13. There are 12 other outposts better than the standard, in my opinion. At number 12, we have the Moria Outpost. Now, what makes this slightly better than the basic outpost is actually quite simple. This citadel is also access to the mine network. The mine network, which you can, for example, connect all the way back to your main base. You can send units into here. You can then have that base connected to your outposts through Gundabad, and ignore that random percentage discount, that's a glitch. Or even Goblin Town. You can have all those different buildings connected to the mine network, and then also feed back to this outpost. Also, with Moria, because you have less plots available anyway, you can get more basic Moria goblins, which are better than basic goblins. You can get your monsters, which are technically your siege units, basic siege anyway. But also the main thing is you could build a triple loot mine on an outpost, get heaps of economy, and also discount all structures by up to 30%, which is insane when you're building it out. And then you can maybe demolish 1 or 2 of them and get a few more hubs of military out there to just keep pumping out infantry, or get rid of the outpost for a different outpost in the future, which we'll be talking about in a few seconds, which is actually right now, because at number 11 we have the Fissure. I did not actually mean to put them right next to each other like this. This was not originally planned for making it easier for me, but here we are. So the Fissure itself is a pretty simple standard outpost. It makes you mountain giants. It has a mountain giant defending it. It can level up over time if you get the Empowerment of the Wilderness from the Goblin Town, what's it called? Loot Horde. But otherwise, you only have it at level 1. Recruiting more mountain giants does not improve its level, but if you reach level 3, you get a second mountain giant patrolling the Fissure to protect it. And the fact that this is better than an ordinary outpost is the fact that you get your long-range siege from this, and potentially the strongest monster in the game, the mountain giant. They can throw stones like Ents. They can stomp like Ash Ents, but this stomp has a stupidly wide radius and can kill most things in 1 hit. It takes proper stuff to go against a mountain giant and survive. The only reason it's not high is the fact that all it does is recruit giants. That is all it does. And if you don't have the these pits here, these holes, you don't get a discount on those mountain giants. So they start at 1200. They're a bit expensive, but they need to be. I mean, for God's sake, this building is stupidly good in the fact that it can make a stupidly OP unit, which has, I think, been nerfed somewhat. Not enough, just somewhat. More could be done. I don't imagine more will be done. But yeah, that is where I think this Fissure is at now compared to every other outpost that is about to come up. Because a lot of them have been changed, and some of them are for the better. At number 10, we have the Steelworks. Now, in my previous ranking video, I had this ranked at 8. So why have I moved this down 2? Might be obvious because there's better outposts out there. But even though it is ranked lower, it does not make it weaker. It got updated. So 1, have a roof, which makes it look a lot more visually appealing. It still does the exact same things. Hardened armors, hardened weapons, hardened bolts. So 3,000 resources, and then all your upgraded troops just get even stronger. You can also recruit your... Sorry, not recruit. You can research your upgrades from the Steelworkers if you wanted not have an armory in your base. But it also is less resources to build. It costs only 2,000 resources to build now. It is still the most expensive outpost in the game, because most other outposts were reduced in some way as well. Mainly talking about Doggledore and Minas Morgul, going down to 1,500 each. So this still being the most expensive, but it's still being a decent outpost, has put it at the number 10 spot. The only reason I'm not giving this more attention and respect is the fact that you need the armory in your base, because otherwise, how are you going to get these tools? I think if I'm actually going to do an upgrade for the steelworkers recommendation. A way to upgrade the steelworkers is to make it so these tools no longer exist. Remove them from Isengard and make it a feature in the Citadel. I talked about this in my how I would upgrade Isengard video before they did the patch, which updated Isengard to be better overall with more units and upgrades available. And I would say that things could be better for the steelworkers still. It's still a really good thing. In the late game, you need this. But before the late game, you don't need this. Because what units are you going to have? They're going to have all your upgrades. And are going to last long enough to use them. That's 3,000 resources you have to invest in. I would rather get Saruman than spend 5,000 resources to just make all my units stronger. In my opinion, there are better outposts out there. I'm just pointing out which outpost that might be, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. But yeah, steelworkers, good. Would you get it straight away? No. Get it in the late game only, because that is when you only need it, because you want to still get those free upgrades. This exists here purely for flavor. I like the flavor, but it's not spicy enough for me. At number 9, we have the border stronghold of Gondor. Now, I'm again talking about where it was last time. In the previous ranking video, it was at number 5. So how has it jumped down 4 spaces? That seems like a crazy amount, right? Because it still does exactly the same thing. It even got a nice polish up from when I last did the video, I think. We still have Imrahil, who buffs all fiefdom troops. We have the Dol soldiers, who buff all infantry. And not just your infantry, all allied infantry. And all allied cavalry that aren't, this singular unit. And obviously Imrahil himself buffs your fiefdom troops. You have these soldiers that can be buffed from your Dol soldiers. You have your knights that can be buffed from other knights. But again, every other faction's cavalry and every other faction's soldiers are buffed just from these 2 units alone. So they're amazing. You have a hero that is amazing, that has synergy with your faction in a large range, which makes it as much better as it was compared to the border stronghold of Belfalas, which is only a difference of units and heroes coming out. The actual building itself has the exact same upgrades. Banners for more leadership, extra defenses for defenses, extra boiling oil for defenses, and healing for support tools. It does enough, but all the other outposts I'm about to talk about are still better because of the fact that they just offer more. This outpost, let me get it straight. This outpost does not need to offer more. Gondor is already a strong enough faction on its own. Potentially the strongest faction in the game. It does not need more. This outpost is perfect as it is. I'm not saying this outpost is bad by having it at number 9, having it jump down 4 spots from the previous ranking video. There are just now more outposts that exist that are better. For better or for worse. And at least that's in my opinion. Someone else might keep it still higher up on their list. Me, personally, this is about halfway in the middle now. This is, in my opinion, a just all-around good outpost. And should always be built for Gondor. Because for Gondor. At number 8, we have the Minas Morgul Fortress. And again, similar to the border stronghold, this was much higher up on the list before. There's just better things now. So, this is Mordor's best outpost, by far. It has a weakening debuff around it, which is really good. It's a House of Lamentation effect for anyone that remembers that from vanilla. You can now get these orcs from your outposts, your settlements, not settlements, your fortresses, your camps and castles, which makes them vastly superior to your Morannon orcs. They may not get as many upgrades from your overseers, well, stat upgrades, but other than that, the fact that you have heavy armor, which gives you more health and are fearless, makes these orcs insanely good. Also, the fact you've got archers that have this heavy armor and can then get fire arrows on top of that, they're just insane. These are stupidly good orcs. And you also get your only dedicated cavalry unit, the Knights of Minas Morgul, which are just really strong near other Nazgul, and then can also on death turn into shadows, which then with Sauron, if you use the influence of Sauron on a Minas Morgul outpost, they can then turn those wraiths that are turned from either these knights or from a Morgul blade into wretched wraiths, which just are good for the Nazgul in general. And also the Witch King being a fine-ass commander of your armies. He makes all your other Nazgul stronger by himself, not like Kamor, who was mainly a dampening effect on other enemies with his own effects. Yeah, he has a debuff and also a buff for all other Nazgul is so insanely good. But yeah, Minas Morgul is way better than Dol Guldur in my own opinion, which is why I put Dol Guldur so low. But there are still 7 more outposts I think are better than this one outpost. And that terrifies me because, yeah, this outpost is amazing. But there are 7 other outposts I think are even more amazing than this one. At number 7, we have the Dwarf Outpost. This outpost was, in my opinion, probably the best outpost back when I did the last ranking video, because I think that's when they still had the free plots for defences, which currently is bugged, as you can see here on those extra plots. If I can get the HUD back up properly, you can see I've built 2 Hall of Warriors where it normally is those 2 bonus plots, which should be only for a half, a tower, or a statue. I've shown this bug off several times now. I'm hoping the Edain team have seen it enough to, and hopefully finding the code to fix it. Because I can imagine anyone that is able to use and abuse this while playing are going to get a massive advantage. But I'm ranking this outpost without keeping this bug in mind. So pretend these 2 outposts attack these 2 settlements, these 2 buildings. My God, my English. Are just towers or halves or statues, not barrackses, because it should not be this way. Because you can still make 3 resource buildings, for example, 3 military focus buildings, 3 support buildings, and then 2 extra support buildings on top. Makes this outpost better than most, if not all, other outposts that just had 4 generic upgrades. For example, the Ered Mithrin Bastion that just has 4 upgrades. Some are quite expensive. Well, you could just build this, get a bunch of resources, have some military even, and then also protect it with some towers, and they give those towers forged blades. Have some halves so you can have your army keep coming back and forth from here and regenerating troops, or have a leadership buff so you can fight stronger for a small time while leaving the fortress aura. It just doesn't make sense, in my opinion, as the Dwarves of the Iron Hills, to build this over this. This is just too much good stuff. But I will let you know that we've still not talked about the other 2 dwarf sub-factions outposts yet. And there's a good damn reason why. I've already talked about how good those 2 outposts are in the past in videos on their own. I'm not talking about them yet because we've still got a little while to go. At number 6, we have the Dunland Gavastow. The newest and honestly most inspired of the outposts that came in with patch version 4.8, and I have to say I'm in love with this little outpost. Such a simple little design, cheap and cheerful, and as soon as you get it you get one of 3 choices. You can make your Dunlandings do more damage to buildings, you can have them get more experience, or they can just steal more resources with every attack. And then you've got the war camp upgrades to get the Banners of Wolf. So now all Wildmen and Brutes in the area gain more armor, damage, and speed. After leaving the area, they lose that aura. Obviously, it's a heroic statue effect. But the fact it's a heroic statue effect on top of extra speed is crazy good. And then you've got the March of the Clans, which gives all clan settings immediately rank free. Will passively increase the damage of all Dunland units on the map by up to 30%. Bonus damage on a basic unit is insane on a passive, which is why Angmar's settlements with the Wildmen are insane. Well, not the Wildmen, the Hillmen. And then also the Smelters of Angranos. You can purchase heavy armor for your Dunlandings. You don't have to wait till level 10 anymore with Wolfguard. You can just get this outpost, spend 600, and then you can just spend more on those heavy armor upgrades. It is so good. You also get one of your 2 heroic units from the Gaverstow, the Brutes, which on immediate use just boost the armor of all Dunlandings and Wolfgar by even more insane amounts. Are good against cavalry, for God's sake. They can't be trampled, knocked back, and deal damage in an area and knocked back with each strike at level 3. And these guys level up fast. These guys level up fast and do a lot of damage. You've seen what they've done against the Citadel Guard, the Guards of the Fountain Court for Gondor. They can do that to almost any other unit. It's insane. And obviously, because being a heroic unit, you can only get 3. But also, take into account, this is a outpost that is purely meant for the early to mid game. They turn a bunch of units that before you would only really use before you had the economy to start getting Urukai, and turn them into something you could actually run into a near late game situation and win with. Because hear me out, I've got a reason for that. I've been watching a lot of replays recently from people that have been giving me replays, and I've been giving them advice on things. In some scenarios, you need a faction that can just spam out troops to take all the brunt of the damage. You don't want to be giving them, your opponents, a massive economy investment to just beat down constantly. So that's not good for you. You want cheap and cheerful, low power gaining, low experience gaining, giving units, such as Wildmen. These Wildmen are getting all these different buffs from God knows how much. You can give them torches, you can give them Wolfguard, you can give them all your allies other different bonuses. Tainted Land, for example, with even more armor. Which turns Wildmen of Dunland, a basic unit, which I called, I believe, one of the worst units in general, because they just didn't have the stats to stand up to anything, to have stats comparable to buffed Gondor troops from all the hero buffs. And that's just from basic buffs from this building alone. And your hero and your heroic units. Which I think is really good. And honestly, if they could do that to the Enlarger's Fortress for Arnor, have it more of a focus towards Linden as well, with Círdan, give it more of that extra love and some more synergy, that is what makes an outpost. An outpost is meant to be something that gives something back to your main force, and not is just an extra, here's some extra flavour. I hope it's not too bland for you kind of situation. Because this is the kind of outpost I want to see more of, just for every faction. Just buffs, more things that you wouldn't normally use for the entire game, and make it so you can use them for the entire game. It's really good, and I encourage everyone who's not played Isengard or is playing Isengard, just build a Gaverstow. Build it, see how it works. It's not an economy thing, true, but you are Isengard. Do you really need more economy when you have another outpost that is pure economy with 159 resources per tick? No. You get this for your economy, for your military, not your economy, because it's worth it. You are worth it. Treat yourself better and get this Gaverstow. At number 5, we have the Mirkwood Outpost. Previously, my number 2, my second best and second favourite choice for outpost out of every single outpost in the game, has now been knocked down to number 5. And there are some very important reasons for that. But let's just talk about all the good things about the Mirkwood Outpost that put them at level 5. For one, you get a whole new roster of units if you get this outpost over the Lorien Outpost, which is the second worst outpost in the game in my opinion. They can knock back enemies on attack if they are stealthed. They can have massive armor gain at cost of damage, which is fine because you need a frontline survival unit sometimes, and also just a unit that can slow down enemy units by up to 40%. The Elk Riders, we don't talk about them. The Palace Guards, we don't talk about how they got disrespected and turned into a heroic unit from an elite unit. Personally, I still think they should be reduced to an elite unit, because the heroic unit is cool and all, but I'm messing with you. I like how they changed them into a heroic unit. I just miss the old elite unit that I could just spam out, which, to be fair, you did not need because you had enough infantry as it was. But then you also get two heroes, Legolas and Thranduil, one of the only outposts in the game to offer you two heroes, and both of them are not just good for your outpost units, but for your entire faction. Massive hero killing and just mass slaying ability in his own, and massive buffing abilities, and even good summons with a healing station wherever you want it. Which, to be fair, as a Lothlorien you don't need. But still, Mirkwood Outpost is definitely an amazing outpost. Because unlike other outposts where you have just 4 choices, you get those 4 choices and then it's over. You get 4 build plots of Mirkwood to build whatever you want. You can build 4 Vaults of the King and get massive discounts on your heroic units. You can get free troop chambers and get discounts on your basic troops. Or even get a wine cellar, which I watched a 3v3 PvP match the other day, where this wine cellar with 2 of it factions that didn't have a healing station to build is really good, because that just means they can heal all their troops up and then go back into the fray at full strength, while your opponents are not. So yeah, never underestimate the power of just having a healing station you can just build. And there's also resource oriented as well. A resource oriented healing station is insane. And also a little Dorwinian reference right there. You could just put that into here as well. You could just make this outpost even better, being a Dorwinian thing. I don't know, but yeah, this outpost is amazing. The units are amazing. It is actually worth getting them because your infantry from Mirkwood is better. Do not let the naysayers say anything bad about these troops. They are not the same as your Lorien troops. They are better for infantry purposes only. Your archers, technically, I think, are worse. These and the Stag Riders are both worse than your Lorien archers because you don't need the extra knockback, you just want damage. But your infantry, having knockback, if they are stealthed, which, by the way, you can just have permanently near the Elven Wood, it's just an obvious choice to make, in my opinion. And I advise anyone who is playing with Lothlorien to always build Mirkwood over the Lothlorien outposts. There is no reason to build that other thing over there. Always build this thing. It's amazing. It is worth it. It's not even that expensive. You just need to actually, have it ready to build up, and then you're good to go. At number 4, we have the Angmar Outposts. Not the outposts, the outposts. Because in the past, in the last ranking video, I did split these 2 up. I had the Tower of Sorcery at the very bottom, or near the very bottom, and the Carn Tower slightly high, a little higher up over the base outpost. But over time, I've grown to love these outposts more and more. Also, it's very important to note that you get these little buggers from them, the tribute cards, which are your main way of getting your elite and heroic troops, your better heroes, and some other cool abilities. For example, from the Temple of Twilight, you can get your higher level spell upgrades. And from, for example, the Hall of the King's Men, you get your Men of Carn and the Shadow Guard. And also, you can't get Monomarth or Durmarth until you have a level 2 barracks. Which, for example, I have here, so I can get Durmarth from here.
I'll go there now.
Also, other things like the Barret White Lair gives you more upgrades for your Barret White if it's level 3. Just having more ways of buffing your basic buildings to get those higher levels is worth getting. An outpost for Angmar is pretty much essential in that matter, because settlements are good. Over like every 3-4 minutes, I believe. Every 4 minutes you get a tribute card, which gives a small portion of experience, as you can see here. Let's see how much experience this gains. From that gives about a quarter. If we find a, I don't think I actually have another tribute card right now of the Carn variety, but if we had these tribute cards are far superior to them in how much experience they give, and resources as well. And that's the thing. You build this 800 resource outpost, you get a tribute card immediately, and then that tribute cart gives you like half your money back just by putting it into a recruitment building, is insane. It's not one of the only outposts in the game that gives immediate, really good economy. But also, the upgrades. To the Tower of Sorcery, in the past I did put really low. But honestly, if I had the choice to go back all that time ago, I would put it a little bit higher because the cooldown reduction on your spells is essential. You no longer have... oh no, you never had it anyway. But but having a reduced cooldown on your powers is really good for powers like, for example, Turcos of Arnor, the Frozen Land, Plague, or Outbreak even, is really good. Plague, Blight, screw that thing. Avalanche, and also Stronghold of the Iron Crown, are also really good powers to keep getting back constantly. But also allow it so your sorcerers can just quickly go between all their different abilities with no real waste of time. But you can see from this one here, let's go back to this. So that gave, I think, 300 resources. Let's actually put one in and see how many resources that gives as well. So 250 resources from a basic tribute cart. From a Khandoum tribute cart, an outpost tribute cart, we get 650, so nearly a complete refund, and almost twice as much experience gain for our recruitment building. And then for some reason that one's 325.
I await the Witch King's command.
That was 250.
Angmar must grow stronger. Get ready to build.
Did they make the Orc? I'm not going to go too much into that, but it looks like the Orc one was a little bit more. I'm not sure what that one was all about. But yeah, outposts really good. Outposts for Angmar are essential. It's also your only outpost. You don't have a special single entity outpost. You have the tribute carts instead. But since they give back almost all the resources you pay into it, if you were to lose this immediately, no big deal. But also the Men of Khandoum Garrison Tower, fast recruitment speed globally for all your Men of Khandoum is crazy good. If you buff that with Monomarth's Edict of Khandoum to reduce the cost of all Dark Numenorians. You also get Helagwyn from a outpost with the Dark Tower, and Zaphagor from the Tower of Sorcery. Zaphagor I used to play down a lot. I still kind of do. He's not been changed at all, and he's still kind of He's a focus between sorcery and sword, which works if you not take into account his warrior mage effects, where he damages himself for every attack he does, every spell he uses, and only does more damage in combat if he has less health. Whereas Helagwyn is amazing. Archer hero with a bunch of different arrow types, multi-shot, freezing rain, which paralyzes all enemies shot in that aura, so you can then plague them, which is really cool. And she just has a nice slew of abilities in herself. Being a lot cheaper as well makes her a lot more appealing. So yeah, I typically always go for Garrison Tower over Tower of Sorcery. If I can, I get the Tower of Sorcery just for the Zaphagor flavor. But if you do, with the new Witch King favor of the Witch King, choose the Temple of Twilight, you'll probably want a Tower of Sorcery, because then your sorcerers are stronger, they have more acolytes, and are more protected by Sauron by the Witch King. But if you choose Black Numenorians like I always do, you're just better off because you just get more things from it. And that is everything for Angmar, and wrapped up in a neat little bow, because yeah, honestly, Angmar's Outpost is the best basic outpost in the game because it gives you all your money back. Because I've talked about in the past always just getting an outpost, building free resource building, and just letting that be your economy problems gone for the entire game until it gets attacked. But you kind of want this to be surviving while being attacked, so you have a garrison tower to protect it, because those tribute cards are so important. And I've talked enough about Angmar now. We have 3 more to go over, and 2 of them are dwarf outposts. It's insane to me that those 2 were once some of the worst and are now some of my favourites. At number 3, we have Lake Town. Wow, this outpost has become amazing since it first was released. Considering before it used to just be an outpost similar to the Dunedain encampment, where it was give some extra resources, make it so you can make military troops and the hero bard, then get a well, then get a tower, and that's all it did. It did nothing else. It now, along with Dale, but we'll talk about Dale later, it now levels up over time, which you might think is a detriment, but actually is one of its biggest strengths, because it no longer needs to focus all on doing one thing at a time, or all of it as soon as you've made the building. You get to spend a little time. It's cheap as chips, about 600 resources to start with, so if it's destroyed, so be it. So be it if it gets destroyed. At least you're not wasting any resources on it. But you can then start with a small investment to increase your resources over time and increase your health for the building. It starts off at 3,500 and then becomes more over time. You can see all those extra housing areas. Still only one building technically, but you know, it's a nice little addition. Then get the militia house for your military. You can then get even more resources and increase the gain from fishmongers, which are entities that are just on the area. You can see them in some buildings, but also mainly just people. Yeah, you're not just making more money and then making more money through more money. Smuggler's Den. Get barred and stealth nearby allies. You can then make the Mayor's Lodge. Unlocks a warm welcome. Grants allies in the area extra damage and armor. Which by 25%, by the way, is not to be scoffed at. And then you get the Bell Tower, which fire arrows at enemies and allows you to unlock the Alarm ability, which turns all fishmongers into enemies and also improves armor. Yeah, all fishmongers attack nearby. And weapon status deactivates resource generation for all fishmongers, but greatly increases recruitment speed if you have the weapon stashes, which is right here. Alarm temporarily deactivates resource generation of all fishmongers, but greatly increases recruitment speed. So if you need an army fast, this is what the men of Lake Town are for. And then you have the unassuming docks, which then makes your outpost also be a part of the mineshaft network. And you see I've got some dwarves hiding in there at the moment. But yeah, look at it now. Compared to what it was at the very beginning, look how much this base has improved. Visually, it's stunning. It's beautiful. It actually makes you feel like you're walking into Lake Town when you come to this settlement to either come and heal, run away into even with the docks, or try and attack. It's just good in every sense of the word. And you also have, you see here, Lake Town just talks about what you get over time, and then you get Smuggler's Paradise. Bard benefits from the growing reach of his home. He gains extra experience gain and armor and heals rapidly near Lake Town. And obviously the men of Lake Town themselves are not to be underestimated either. The Lake Town swordsmen reduce the speed of enemies. Pikemen are just able to exist as pikemen. And then the archers have a pretty bad ability, but you know. But then there's Bard as well, who's a good way of killing off those annoying little what they called monsters. That's the one. Dragons. Little dragons. And yeah, this is what makes this, in my opinion, the third best outpost. Is the fact that it just does everything. It does everything the old outpost does, but does it even more. Look at all those little pings of 12 and 10 every few seconds. That's insane how much money this is generating just on its own. And yes, it costs a lot in the end. It and Dale are probably, in the end, some of the most expensive outposts in the game, if you're just putting every single building into account. And it ends with 7,500 health. So some siege will destroy it. But to be fair, most siege are going to destroy any single target entity building with very little effort. This at least gives it a deterrent. And if it's protected behind your base, for example, because some maps do have an outpost behind your main base, so it's protected, this is a go-to on those kinds of maps. Just let the economy roll. You'll have no financial problems ever if you do this. And if you really do need the recruitment, you can see it's actually really fast. It's around as fast as Call the Horde. It's insane. I love it. I love this build. I love this outpost. And I encourage anyone that is playing the dwarves to try the dwarves of Evan Lewin and just play as this. Because look at, even the bell actually rings when the alarm is activated. So many niche little things, but it's so good. And then you can see all those people over there getting ready to attack anyone that comes nearby. Do not mess with Lake Town. They are ready to scrap with anyone that comes near their home. At number 2, we have the Exile / King's Camp. previously my number one for outposts, because this outpost does it all. It gives you a aura of leadership just for building it, which would give you speed and damage, which was exactly what you needed for a cavalry-centric faction. And it started out by giving you 3 units of exiles on top of being able to summon Edain from that outpost, which obviously, if Edain is on the field and is cursed, or is, you know, just cursed in general, you can't make Edain from your castle. You can only build it from him from the exile camp, and he's a very good hero, seeing that he's your way of getting resources per kill. But not only does it do a little bit of work in the beginning by offering cheap, well, same price but faster recruitment speed cavalry, it also can be upgraded for an extra 1,000 to get 3 units of cavalry that cost no command points. It doesn't matter how many times I say it, this is still one of the most underrated cavalry units because of how simple it is. Just costing no command points saves you 270 command points to get 3 more cavalry units. It's so good. And then we look at the captains themselves. You can get a captain, which you can see here, can be turned into a soldier of Meduseld unit, a warden of Meduseld unit, or a knight of Meduseld unit. All your elite troops, all wrapped up in a neat little bow, all in your outpost. And you can also get Erkenbrand, who summons a unit of his troop to the field, Elfhelm, that recovers 1 entity from all nearby allies, and Grimbold, who can just run faster for some reason. But yeah, all of this makes this outpost previously the best outpost in the game. Its one weakness is not shared by the one that came before it or after it, in the fact that it's just got low health, very easily destroyed, and you have to spend another 1,000 to get it back up to level, to be a king's camp from an exile camp. And you also get a scout from it, which is cool. You get a few scout abilities as well. But yeah, before I probably put it a little bit too high on the list, because I just really loved Rohan at the time, and the Exile King's Camp not being an original outpost from Edain 4.0 made it so appealing to look at, and it was so good. Such a good, simple design, but executed perfectly. Other outposts obviously have more health, are more easily protected, have all that other shenanigans going on, but on some maps you don't need to worry about all protecting the outpost. It's behind your base, it's safe. This is one of those outposts that if it's behind your base and safe, your enemy is done for. You just have access to not free cavalry, but very fast recruiting cavalry, protected by, from direct attack unless you just charge through the base and into the outpost. You just got free access to a really good outpost that does everything you need, and it is your only way of getting your elite troops, because otherwise Rohan is limited to the archery range in the base, your peasants, and then your cavalry from the stables, which, yes, you do have your heroic royal knights, but the amount of things you need for them, you need your arsenal, you need your forged blades, heavy armor, all that nonsense to get, and the horse shields, just to get 1 unit, which honestly, I've talked about before, is not one of the best elite, not one of the best cavalry units in the game at all. It's better to get these units. This is where you get all your cavalry from. You don't need the stables in your base to get cavalry. You get it for the horse shields to make it so your units take less damage overall. And then just use the king's camp, get all your elite troops from there. Bingo, bango, done. And it's not even only your elite troops again. As we said, we get a limited amount, which is a total of 6, by the way. 6 cavalry units is not a limited amount. That is an army. You have an army of cavalry just by using your basic troops, and then you can add your elite on top of that. It is why it is one of my favorite outposts in the game. It is why it deserves to be number 1, but it got knocked down by the fact that there was one more outpost, which we've already talked a lot about in the past, and again, there's a reason why it's number 1. It deserves to be number 1. It got made into being number 1 from being one of the worst outposts in the game. And I honestly fell in love with it. The same way I fell in love with this outpost. At number 1, who could have guessed it? The outpost that I once made a video about saying it is the best outpost in the game. the Dale Marketplace is my #1 best outpost in the game. So just like Lake Town, it has a bunch of different upgrades. Warehouses, more resources, which also gives you the traders upgrade, which we'll talk about in a minute. You then get the militia house, where you get brand and your basic Dale swordsman and pikemen. Not the archers, mind you, because you don't need them as Erebor, basically. You get the toy makers to generate more resources and increase the resources gained from caravans returning to Dale. Again, we'll talk about caravans in a minute. We then get the watchtower, which is your defense, your main defense anyway. You then get the fountain, which, if you'll notice, I didn't talk about there being a fountain in Lake Town because there wasn't one. You don't have a healing place in Lake Town. You do it in Dale, though. Then you get the Dwarven Craftsman, which makes all roads created right by Dwarven traders increase the speed of all units by 25%. Considering this is Erebor we're talking about here, which is the faction that comes with Dale. Erebor has slow dwarves. Those dwarves are not slow anymore. And then we get the palace, to where we can recruit our elite archers, which, to be fair, let's be honest, these are not elite archers. They're just named elite archers. They're the same Dale bowmen they always were. They were just made more expensive, give them a few more stats. But honestly, there's still 15 entities. I can't call that an elite unit. And then finally we get the Dwarf Wind Lance. On top of the palace. Yes, this is the one outpost in the game that I actually say siege is okay. Because it's part of the outpost itself, and it is glorious. If this could attack things in the sky, I'd just say this would just be the #1, and we wouldn't even have to make the ranking video. Because let's be honest, the literal dwarf wind lance that was gifted to the men of Dale, used by Girion to almost kill Smaug once upon a time. At least that's how it was told in the Hobbit movies. This thing is beautiful. It is a work of art. The whole package is, really. And then we also have, on top of all that extra resources we gain from just this existing, the Traders of Dale, which summons our little trader over here, our little merchant, who leaves his little tracks, goes to a settlement, any settlement on the map that belongs to you. So a lumber mill, a mine shaft, or a pony camp. Any of them that you own, you send that little man out. He comes back after he's gone there, and when he comes back, he gives you money. And that can happen to every single settlement on the map. So let's just speed this up a bit. Because that's how this works, apparently. So let's get that one there as well.
Nothing shall stand before us.
Get another trader out toward that mine shaft. And then is there any other outposts on the map, settlements on the map I took? No. Well, that's enough. So we've got, see here, one fully built road. We then have, in a second fully built road. And then a third fully built road. And then we also get your basic troops and Brand. Brand, honestly, is not a very good hero. But he does buff these troops to be decent units. I did, in the past, and still do, talk down on these units. Because they aren't really good. But the thing that does make them good is their formation ability. That is their one saving grace. Because it is decent. Because it gives them, for as long as you have them in that formation, 30% bonus movement speed. So imagine the dwarves of Ered Luin, who have the active movement speed bonus. They can only have for a small amount of time. These Men of Dale just get that and a formation. Yes, it costs them their armor and damage, but if you're running away from an opponent or running into a fight, you can just turn the formation off when you're in the fight. Why keep up when you're fighting when it just makes you weaker? Okay, so we can see here this dwarf trader is struggling to reach its destination. So there are some limitations to the roads. Obviously, there's going to be some limitations. The game is a very old game. It's a mod placed on a very old game. But yeah, look, visually, it's stunning. It's beautiful. You also get the Trumpets of Dale, which allies in the vicinity gain more damage and armor. So it's the same as the Mayor's Hall of Lake Town. But your two basic infantry troops can get movement speed and at a cost of damage and armor for a short time. But then you also have Brand, who does buff them by a decent amount. whether he's on his sword or bow. And yeah, again, the outpost can defend itself. It has a tower. It has a siege engine defending it, for God's sake. What else does it need? It doesn't need anything. This outpost is perfect. I can't think of anything that makes this outpost better other than giving it more things. But that would just be stupid because it already has everything it needs. It has units you don't need, but you might need... units you might want... Sorry, units you might not want, but you will need in situations from time to time. It has an ability that gives you movement speed, gives you money. Do I need to say anything else about how good this outpost is? Like, it just offers everything you need. With the dwarves, you mainly need economy. Economy is the name of the game, because you want to be making more dwarves, you want to be making your best dwarf units. Ignore the fact that there's no texture on here at the moment. That's what happens when the hidden one changes the faction. But yeah, you can get Dane Ironfoot easier. You can get Gimli easier. You can get Foreign, not Open Shield, but Stonehelm. You can get your Arkham Guard fully built up. Instead of having Phalanx, which are meh, in my opinion, you can get some of these Dale Pikemen that can run around faster, protecting axe throwers with their march formation. It's just so many good things. I can't find one fault with this, other than the fact that it does have some okay units and a rather meh hero. That's the only weakness. And if that's actually a thing that makes you not build this, I would slap you around the face and say, you really think this is worse, or is not better than this? Yes, this is good. Yes, this can give you resources and recruitment speed and healing and support. This does all of that, but cheaper. And the reason I say cheaper is, by the time you've got level 10, the money you would have gained from all those traders, from just it existing, is enough. It's cheaper to build in base, similar to Lake Town. So if you do lose this at a very early tier, no big deal. Build it again. Do it all over again. Yes, it takes time to build up, but you can choose what you build on first. You can either focus on your military to get more troops coming out. You can focus purely on economy and get the Traders of Dale to do immense levels of work for you. It's just so good. Also, I'm in love with the idea of being a wandering merchant going over things like this. This outpost has actually changed my concept of life. And I love it. I love this outpost. I can't fault it. Yes, it has some weaknesses, but it bloody well needs them. And that is all I'm going to say, because otherwise I'm just rambling for no reason. I hope you've all enjoyed this ranking video. Hope you've all, if you've not already tried some of these outposts in the past, try them. Use them. It is worth it. Some of these outposts are really bloody good, and I hope the outposts I put at the very bottom might get an improvement in the future, similar to what I suggested. Because, yes, some of those outposts at the very bottom need a fix to be something as majestic as this. Not every faction needs a outpost as majestic as this, like I mentioned with the Border Stronghold for Gondor. But one day, I think if the Edain team made every outpost like this, there'd be no reason to build an outpost like this. This wouldn't be, unless you wanted things really, really quickly. This outpost just offers everything you need when you want it, instead of having everything you need at a price from the beginning. Anyway, I've just gone back to rambling. See ya! Bye!